We are live. Welcome to the Bardic Inspiration Podcast. I'm your host, Brad the Bard. Today, I have the strong Asian man from Philly Acro, Rob Lee. What's going on,
How
my
you doing,
man?
man?
Yo, I'm good. It's all good. And we're doing a live stream with live questions, so we can let that happen.
All
Dude,
right.
first question I want to ask you.
Uh-huh.
How did you get into Acro, man?
Acro? Well, I have a background in cheer. I was a cheerleader for Drexel University, then the 76ers, then the Philly Soul, and then the 76ers, and then I coached over at Temple. And then when I discovered Acro, it was just another way of like tossing people around. So I get to utilize my people tossing skills in different ways.
No doubt. So it's definitely a unique type of strength too. Like I noticed we just did a little stunt for the thumbnail here, and you picked me up like effortlessly. You're like, just throw your hips up, and I'm like, I'm shaking, and you're like, shh, it's okay, it's okay. You handled that. So like, like your power isn't just in like the might. Your stabilization muscles are insane.
Thanks, man. It's like when with the project, I'm going around lifting up, thousands of people, and then I kind of realize what I should do, what I can do to kind of like help them out. And within a few seconds of meeting people, I have an idea as what their abilities are. And if they just followed a few, instructions, and all of a sudden they're up and doing acro.
Yeah. How long does it take before you're like good at acro?
Well, it's kind of tough. I mean, there are people that have been, training for a while. Some people pick it up naturally. If you have like a cheer, gymnastics, dance, yoga, a strong movement background that's similar to acro, then you pick it up a lot quicker than people who've never really, have that kind of background. But if you just practice and just, do it over and over again, you can really pick it up relatively quickly.
Yeah, cool. So like me, if you would have asked me like before I came to the gym and met you the first time, like a year ago, if you would have asked me like 2 years ago, what's Acro-Yoga, I would not have been able to describe it. How would you describe it to someone that like never heard of it?
Well, Acro-Yoga is a combination of like acrobatics, yoga, and Thai massage. And then there's all these different kind of branches and categories like from there, you know what I mean? Like I usually call it acro. That's kind of more encompassing than the Acro-Yoga. When people say Acro-Yoga, it's more like the therapeutics, the more like relaxing part. I like to focus on a lot of the acrobatic parts, so that's why I just say acro, and it kind of encompasses it.
Yeah.
It also includes like the cheer and like the dynamic stunts and everything else. So yeah.
No doubt. So how many years have you been doing just Acro-Yoga?
I'd say about, I think around like 5 years.
Nice.
Is for acro. And and then cheer, it's like more like 22, 24 years,
really.
Something like that. Yeah.
All of the encompassing skills come together. So you actually are the head instructor at PPK Philly here. And how did you get that gig? Like it seems like you're a really charismatic dude, and everyone knows you in the community from what I've seen here.
I guess. Well, I mean, I met Andy, and then I just started, I guess hosting different acro like little events here and there, and then when the other acro gym kind of closed down, a lot of people reached out to me. They're like, "Oh, do you think you can set up a more, like an acro program in Philly, with regular classes and whatnot?" So I pitched the idea to Andy, and he was all on board. So then we kind of got together and we kind of created a program, and now we have Philly Acro, and we have at least 4 classes a week, and then we have like special events. We'll bring out outside instructors, special workshops, and it's just kind of cool to be able to see all that come to life, and then have more and more people get involved with acro and see people leveling up. That's like really, really cool in my opinion.
Yeah, no doubt. Yeah, man, and you're like really powerful. Do you think that is a good thing, or like, because to be a base, right? Like that's what you would call it. Like you would want a lot of power, but I think like I was saying, I think your real strong suit is like your stabilization muscles.
Yeah, it's interesting because in acro, all sorts of body types can do acro. There are, I mean, I enjoy flying too. If people are strong enough to put me up there, and it's not just about strength, but it's also like mobility, flexibility. Obviously, if you're strong, you can do more. Obviously, if you're flexible, you can do more. But it's more than that. And when you practice a lot, you can understand what works with your body. If you work with other people, then you can, once you're calibrated, you can understand, the abilities that you're able to do and what limits can be pushed as well.
Nice. That's super cool. So what kind of events are you putting together coming up here?
Well, there's a big one that's coming up the end of February, beginning of March. We're calling it Nearfest, the Northeast Acrobatic Rally Festival. Essentially, we have these Cirque du Soleil performers who also teach and instruct. So bring in Cirque instructors as the main coaches for this, intermediate slash advanced level acro festival. There are a lot of acro festivals out there, and they're usually for the most part like all levels, from like beginners to intermediate. And I feel like I want to kind of change things up a little bit. So I worked with talking to a friend of mine who does acro in New York, Brian Konash. We talked about putting something together, and then I started just making a couple of phone calls and texts, and then next thing you know, like, we're doing an acro festival, and it's like really cool because it's a little bit different, because now we're doing intermediate slash advanced level, and a lot of times people who've been practicing and training acro, they kind of hit a plateau.
Yeah.
And then now, like, kind of offering this festival that can help people get past that plateau, hopefully. And but we'll
Maybe
see how it
get like
goes.
more experience with different people.
Yeah, I mean, they can bring in like their they have like partnerships, or there's people there that they can work with, but the quality and the level of teaching that will be offered is higher level than most other like festivals, which I think is really exciting. We put out the tickets, less than 90 minutes the event was sold out.
Oh man, that's crazy.
So now I'm actually adding another event in front of that. We're doing like a pre-festival intensive for all the people, like the 20, 30 people on the wait list, and then everyone else who wants to do even more acro.
Yeah.
So that'll be happening on the 28th of February. Yeah.
Nice. That's actually my birthday.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, that's cool.
I most certainly will be around.
Awesome.
We'll have to take a shot.
Yeah.
So tell me, like, what got you interested in the first place?
With acro, or?
Well, just like the art of manipulating other human bodies.
Well, I guess it started with cheer. I mean, if you want to go way back.
Yeah, all the way.
All the way. In high school, I was in the weight room, and my parents wouldn't let me play football, so I was just there working out, played a little golf, and then a couple of the cheerleaders came in. They were recruiting people to be on the team, and since my parents wouldn't let me play football, I did, cheer. I finally had, they finally caved in and let me play football the other years, but I had a little bit of cheer experience. And then in college, I wanted to play rugby, which I did. But the kid down the hall was a cheerleader, and they're recruiting like male cheerleaders. And it just made sense. Like you're considered a varsity athlete. You get, pre-registration. You get a scholarship. They pay you, and
Nice.
It just kind of made sense to try it out. So I, cheered all throughout college at Drexel. And I also got to play rugby, which was really cool. And then after that, just kind of opened up a whole bunch of doors. Bon Jovi, he had that arena football, the Philadelphia Soul, and there was one spot open. One of my friends who was a cheerleader came up to me. They're like, they have one spot open for a base. Come and try out. Went there, tossed somebody around. I made the team. And then I think a year or so later, the 76ers, they were taking cheerleaders. So they call it the hair raisers. So half the team were gymnasts jumping off the trampoline, dunking the ball, and the other half were just cheerleaders, just tossing people around.
Yeah.
So same thing.
That's crazy,
they had like
dude.
one spot open.
I didn't know you did that. That's like That's like a really credentialed like history you have there. It's random that you like ended up doing that.
Yeah, right. A professional male cheerleader.
Right?
Yeah. So yeah, who would have thought? I mean, like, and I feel like a lot of things, like, if you believe in signs, it just kind of kept on pointing me in that direction.
Yeah.
And then there's something about acro. Like when I tried it out, I was just hooked, and I just wanted to do more. And it was really cool because it was accessible. Like in cheer, there's a lot you need to prep for and to do, but with acro, like, anyone can do it. Earlier today, I lifted up my friend Brittany. She's 38 weeks pregnant. She's about to give birth in a couple of weeks, and then so I was thinking about I've lifted up a lot of different people,
yeah,
and I've lifted a few pregnant women, And it's kind of cool because after I lift them while they're pregnant, they would bring their babies to me, and then I would lift them and their baby.
Oh, like together at the
they're
same
together.
time?
Yeah, yeah.
That's so cool.
So then we're thinking about like, someone suggested like a whole series of that like within my project, like the what do you call it, a postpartum series. So I would lift
that's
like
so
the pregnant
cool.
women, and then like with them and their babies once they give birth. So that was kind of cute.
Do you want to tell me about your project? Because like,
Oh yeah, I
like,
guess we
like,
mentioned it. Yeah.
I was just asking like before we started the podcast, like, oh man, I should have like a cool thumbnail because like you can do something cool with me, and you're like, yeah, you should let me put you upside down. I'm like, what?
So the project, it's called hashtag Ride the Rob, and what it is, it's a journey to lift up 10,000 people in various cheer and acro poses.
Is that similar to the vein that 10,000 hours makes you a master?
It's so people have said that. So I in my journey I've learned a lot. I've learned all the different ways about how people could fall out and how to save it.
Oh
So it's really
man.
interesting because I'm lifting people who have absolutely no idea, like who've never done acro before, and to kind of expand out of that, it's I'm learning all these things as I go along, and it's just really interesting. The actual how it all started was I got into acro, I really enjoyed it. I just want to have people experience and because I find so much joy in doing acro, and I wanted people to really kind of feel that to check it out, because a lot of people who don't know what acro yoga is.
Yeah.
And then I was taking a shower one day, and I was just like, you know what, I'm just gonna lift a bunch of people up and just kind of share that gift with everybody. And then I was thinking, well, how many people should I lift up? And it was in October of 2016. I was like, well, maybe I'll start at January of 2017. I'll lift 2017 people for the year 2017. I wanted something that was significant, that I had to kind of work for, but also like attainable.
Yeah.
So I was like, all right, 2017 people in 2017. So starting then, I started, going around and lifting people. I ended up lifting 2,301 people for that year.
So you beat it.
So I beat it.
That's awesome.
And then, during that time, they had me like on TV. They wrote articles about me. And then after that year, I was like, well, I kind of want to maybe milk this like a little bit longer. So I was like, how many people should I lift up? I was like, let's go for 10,000 people over the course of 5 years. So if I average around like 2,000, people
Yeah.
per year, like that would set me on pace.
And you already had like 2,300 the first year.
But with each year, I realized there's a new challenge. So the first year, no one really knew who I was. No one knew what was going on. So, but I could lift anyone. So I lifted up, over 2,300 people. But then the second year, right, I only lifted about 1,800 people because I realized I've already lifted 2,300 people that I know or just met.
Yeah.
So it's tough finding like newer people, because when you go to these acro festivals or these classes, I would walk in and like 90% of the people, 95% of the people I've already lifted.
Yeah.
And then now it's just like, well, like I need to find like new people. So, so I started traveling a little bit, and it was interesting because I feel like I was kind of running out of people, because every time I go somewhere, I'm like, all right, lifted up like you, and you. And so then people started offering me like their significant others.
They're do like a dog.
Many times, yeah.
Many dogs.
But I don't count that because they're not able to like fill in the database. But I'll still,
roster.
I'll still do pets. And actually, I want to do a workshop, puppy acro, and basically I'll teach poses that you can incorporate with your pets and everything.
That's so cool.
But yeah, it's been really interesting. And as I go along, I people are like, their parents, their grandparents, their wives, their husbands, like they'll just send them to me.
Yeah.
And when I first started out, it was to show what Acro-Yoga was and how awesome it is. And then the goal changed, and then I realized that it's also very empowering, because I've lifted people who've never tried acro, who didn't think they could do this, and all of a sudden they're in the air doing acro, and you can see like how amazing like it feels, and people are like, oh yeah, this like totally made my day, it was awesome, I didn't think I could do that. And it's funny to see a shift from like sheer terror in some people to like pure joy within a matter of seconds. And then you have that like that connection that I basically gave them this gift of like happiness, even for like a few seconds. It's kind of cool. Yeah.
It definitely like made my night.
Yeah,
like,
right.
I was like, oh shit.
Yeah.
It made me want to do it more too.
Yep.
Do you find that it's like addicting? Like people want
Oh
to keep
yeah,
doing
there's
it after you introduce
I
them
call it
to
like the acro bug. Like once you get lifted, you just want to do more. I've
Yeah.
actually a lot of the people that come to the regular classes, I've lifted them through Ride the Rob, and they're like, I want to do more. Like where can I get more? And then I was teaching at Acro-Yoga before it closed down. So then we had regular students that come in, and then a bunch of the regulars that come in now are from the project, which is awesome because they just fell in love with it, and then they just want to do it all the time. Yeah.
That's super cool, man. So, like, what kind of projects are you up to right now? Besides that Ride the Rob one. And so you started in 17, so you have 2 more years
So
now.
I'm into my fourth year now, so I have like less than 2 years. Yeah.
Cool.
So
And you're at like 6,000 something?
yeah, you're 6,062.
6,600 and
I think you're
62 or something?
I think you're 6,062. So I'm a little behind.
6,062.
Yeah, so I think I'm
Oh.
a little behind in I'm supposed to be way past that. So
I'm gonna start throwing people at you.
Yeah,
from
yeah,
now on.
yeah,
Like,
that's
"Yo,
what I do."
Did you ride Rob yet? You go over there right now.
So it's great because people have just started like sending people over.
Yeah.
I've had a lot of people that find me on Instagram or on the internet, and then
They
all
hit you up to ride you.
yeah, man, it's like I've lifted up like bachelorette party. I've done like bachelorette parties.
That's
I've
amazing.
Done, yeah, I had just
That's awesome.
everywhere. Like I've done it. I lifted up police officers. A bunch of flight attendants. One flight attendant, like while we were flying in the air.
That's crazy.
24,000 feet in the air. What else? Where else? State senators, Eagles player, Flyers player, WWE Diva like champion. Like sometimes I'll lift people, I have no idea who they are until like I find out like later, like who's this person that has 500,000 followers, and like, oh yeah, okay. So yeah, but for me it was just about like kind of showing people like what acro it is, and it just kind of cool.
Yeah. I noticed like you had me fill in like my Instagram handle.
Yeah.
Is that how you find out?
Well, then usually when I first started the project, I was thinking about like what information I wanted to get. So I have like first and last name, obviously, and then I was like, oh, and like kind of like city they're from, like that's kind of cool. And then point of contact is like the email, and then like with Instagram, everyone loves Instagram, so I like kind of like put it out that way. It's just that I sometimes like I'll lift like 20, 30, 40, sometimes 50 people in a day, and it's a lot to kind of like catch up. So before I was like posting everything, but now it's just like if I'll send them the information, they post it, they get the likes and follows, and I do less work. So
Yeah. That's funny. Nice. So what other kind of stuff are you up to now?
Okay, so
besides that one.
I
And
mean,
the Near Festival.
the Near Festival coming up. I am teaching a intro to acro for like what I call your bays and BFFs for like a Valentine's Day edition.
That's super
at a
cool.
pole studio, Flaunt Fitness. I'm actually working on doing a goat acro workshop.
Goat acro?
Yeah. So I connected with the Philly Goat Project, where they have like these Nigerian dwarf goats that are trained to climb on people. They use for goat yoga. And so I went there, and we basically I brought my acro partner Blair, and we kind of tested out what acro poses would work with the goats, and they basically climb on top of you, and cool pictures and whatnot.
That's interesting.
So we're doing that on April 4th. I have all these different random ideas I come up with, or workshops. I want to do I usually do in the summertime acro on the paddleboards with Aquavita, like the sup acro. Yep.
Like out on water.
On water on top of the paddleboards.
Wow, dude, how difficult? How much more difficult is
it
that?
is extreme. It's very humbling. It's extremely difficult because you have people who have done acro like 6, 7, 8 years, and then all of a sudden it's a tough time to even doing the simple poses. But then you figure it out. But even like the easiest poses, once you get up there, like you're celebrating, like you spend most of the time like in the water, but it's just so much fun. And it's a great workout because you're constantly working on your stabilization muscles, and you're constantly like climbing out of the water. It's just a lot of fun. Yeah.
Man, I'm just like, I do Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu, and like I'm wondering like how much benefit I could get from doing that.
Oh, you could do it. I
I
actually
could probably just hold people up.
Yeah. It's crazy. Actually, I went to in California. I went to a Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu gym, and apparently I lifted up people of the Gracie family.
What?
And
That's
I
crazy.
didn't know how I didn't know like they were like a big deal. I guess.
It's
Yeah.
so crazy.
So yeah, it's found me in a lot of interesting positions. I've one person's like, oh, you should come and lift my coworkers like at the strip club. And then, I showed up one night, and she wasn't able to come. So I was like, well, I don't know anyone here.
No,
So then
man.
I was just like, well, I'm here. I might as well start lifting people. So I lifted up the bouncers first, and then like and then a couple of the patrons, and then the dancers, and then the bartenders, and yeah, just random. Every day is like an adventure.
That's super funny, dude. So,
Yeah.
you were in touch with like a stripper, and then she flaked, and you ended up at the strip club, and
Well,
you're like, I'm Ride the Rob.
yeah,
What's good?
yeah. Well, I talked to the manager, but I guess apparently I know a lot of dancers. I actually I competed in Diamond G. It's, if you're not familiar with it,
No, I'm not.
it's probably the biggest competition, like purse wise, like $15,000 like grand prize.
Oh wow.
It's like, how do I describe it? It's like Cirque du Soleil but at a strip club.
What?
And
That's
yeah,
crazy. Like naked?
like topless,
Sometimes? Yeah.
That's actually part of the contract. You have to be topless.
Nice.
It was really interesting because a friend of mine a few years ago, she was competing on someone's team. She's like, oh, you should come and check it out. So I did, and then I saw some people doing a little bit of acro there, and I was like, wait, like I do acro. I was like, I want to compete. So for a full year, I thought about which people I wanted to put on the team, and what I wanted to do. So that entire year I was just thinking and just putting things together. It was the theme I came up with was Alice in Sexyland, and
That's awesome.
I was the White Rabbit, and I was like tearing the clothes off, like throwing everyone around in acro poses, and the team compiled of people who were great at pole dancing, dancing in general, aerials, silks. I taught them all acro, and it was a great event. We actually won it. We came out of nowhere and we won the title. We won
Yeah.
the Diamond G competition,
Diamond
which is
G.
like a big deal in the stripper world apparently. And it was a really cool experience. And then we competed last year. Last year it was the theme was Avengers Ass Symbol. Yeah. So yeah. It's just
That's awesome.
but just incorporating acro into like everything it's really cool.
It seems like you guys really have a good time.
Yeah, it can be a good time. Yeah.
No doubt. It's so cool too. I find that the sports where you have intimate contact with somebody are the ones where you make the closest friends. Like in jiu-jitsu, you're literally trying to choke each other's life out of each other, and then you can like say anything to each other and you laugh.
then,
Like
yeah.
there's no such thing as an insult from the
Yeah.
guy that just tried to kill you for 6 minutes.
Well, acro is very interesting because trust is a huge
Yeah.
factor. Actually, in acro, consent and trust, because it is a very kind of like intimate practice.
Yeah.
So part of acro culture is a big consent culture, like knowing the concept and practices of consent. So whenever there are like big festivals and everything, like people talk about like you can do what you're comfortable with, and if you change your mind, like it's okay. And with the new people, we also want to include like consent talks as well. And then it's like to be able to trust somebody like within a few seconds, like it's also very interesting. I was at Athleta lifting people for my project, and then this woman, she comes up to me after I lifted her, and she's like, I'm a psychologist at a school, and I just find what you're doing like fascinating. I was like, how so? She's like, I was able to trust you within a few seconds, like of meeting you, like with my life, of not like
Yeah.
dropping me and whatnot. And I was like,
Dumping
oh,
it
that's
around their head.
that's really interesting, because like when you do acro, especially when you do the more dynamic or like the higher, like the standing acrobatics, or the ones where you like fully release, like like carrying, like it can be dangerous,
No doubt.
and like as a base, like, and especially as a cheer base, like you're taught to like always protect your flyer, like like they don't hit the ground, and like you do whatever you can to make sure that doesn't happen. And sometimes it's difficult, and sometimes like it's things go out of control, like out of your you don't expect things, and things happen, but you do whatever you can to protect your flyer. And it is very interesting because you develop that trust relatively quickly, because you're doing something that is potentially dangerous. It is dangerous, like inherently dangerous, so you are taking a risk whenever you do this. But I try to be like very careful, taking all the safety precautions, and within a few seconds I can kind of get an idea as to what the person is able to do to kind of like either kind of push their boundaries, but at the same time to also do it in a safe way. Yeah.
No doubt. I did take notice, like, I mean, maybe me, it wasn't so hard because you could kind of tell, like, I have some body awareness from the practices that I do. But it seems like you have a really good way of getting people, like, taking, like, I've seen one of your classes before, and you really have the newer people, like, take their time and get really comfortable, and there's, like, really good progressions to that stuff.
Yeah, so the way we structure the classes for Acro, we have a beginner's class and then a intermediate class afterwards. So the content usually kind of builds upon it. So if you've never done Acro before, you can go to an intro class and you'll be fine. And if you're actually doing really well, you can stick around and do the intermediate class as well, because it kind of builds on the skills you have. And with the new people, like, it's exciting when this is your first Acro class, you're doing everything for the first time, and I want to kind of have them enjoy that experience and remember it. And at the same time, like, it's also really cool when you are working on skills that you've been, trying to hit, and eventually you get, it's like that, that moment, and then it's like, if you see like videos of people like working at something and they finally getting it, like, it's just awesome to do that. And as like a coach and instructor, it's really cool when you are like instrumental in being a part of that. But yeah, I want everyone who like comes to try to do comes to do Acro to be, to feel like they're welcomed, and it's like, because I also realize that sometimes it can be a little intimidating. Like, you see people doing all these things and you don't know anyone, this and that. So I try to be very welcoming. I tell the people who do Acro for a while, like, engage and talk to the people who are new and make them feel, welcomed and, want to like come back and do more of this.
Yeah, that's awesome. What's like the craziest like accident that you've ever like been involved with or seen like in person? Like with either cheer or Acro.
I mean, there's some like crazy stuff that's happened in cheer, especially. I mean, hear about all these different stories. Fortunately, like in the cheer world that I've seen, like, I don't think anything like has been like, like
tragic.
Yeah. But like, there are stories though, girl, was it the story with the cheer one is like the girl like falling on her neck during a game. So now that they made a bunch of moves and collegiate cheerleading illegal, like at the games, because they kind of delayed it, so like
that's a shame
I did,
too.
yeah. So things can happen. We try to avoid that, but there are like stories that you've heard and everything.
Yeah.
But even like, or the gymnast who like, broke both her knees, just like kind of freak accidents that just kind of happen.
Yeah.
But yeah.
Yeah, it's crazy stuff. I was just telling the last guy I had on, like, one of the craziest jiu-jitsu injuries I heard of. Like, sure, you have like the arm bar that breaks the arm.
Yeah.
You choke a guy out because you're put him in a sleeper hold. But one I heard where like a guy was put in a triangle choke, and like he tapped, and when he stood up, half his body was paralyzed, and he had a stroke somehow.
Oh,
because
man.
like that artery got like clogged up. That's the scariest thing I've ever
Yeah.
heard.
Well, like cheer especially, it's a scary sport. Like, people are being like flown up in the air, doing all these crazy things.
Like terminal velocity.
Yeah. Yeah. So like, and I remember, so I remember what was it? When was this? This was a while ago. It was when Iverson was still playing for the Sixers, and it was during the playoffs. And we had this thing where two guys would launch this girl in a basket toss, right? And they can fly up to 15, 20 feet in the air. And then someone is doing a hand-to-hand in the middle. So a hand-to-hand is basically someone doing a handstand on another person's hand, like while extended in the air. So the girl comes off the basket, right, over the hand-to-hand with the flyer doing a straddle split. The flyer does a forward flip and into the hands of two other catchers. So when we were practicing that, we would practice like on the court, and I had no idea what was going on, and they did that, and I was just like, what? This is ridiculous. How do you practice for this? So she would go flying up and does the flip, and then we would catch her. And it was just like crazy things, but you just have to like always be like on your toes, and it's a big trust thing for her to fly, in the air like that high and doing a flip, and then hopefully that we'll be there to catch.
Yeah.
So yeah, it was a little it was a little nerve wracking. And then it was also like, we performed to like 20,000 people, like, because during that time, like, it was with Iverson playing, like, it was basically sold out every single game. Yeah.
Yeah, that's crazy. And you were there every time?
Yeah.
Did it pay well?
No. No,
No,
it's more for
that's
the experience.
crazy.
It's more for the
What?
experience.
I did
Yeah.
not expect that.
Yeah.
They'll shice you any chance they get, man. Even no matter how much skill you have, I guess.
But it was cool because the amount of like the talent was really cool. I met a lot of people who were like all stars, like national champions, and I learned a lot just working with them. Yeah, I feel like I didn't really get good at cheer until like until I was surrounded by people of that caliber, and they taught me a bunch of things.
No doubt. Yeah, and that's cool to be like humble enough to surround yourself with those people and just be like a sponge and soak it all up. That's so important.
Yep.
That's super cool. So what else, like so when you're doing like the cheerleading stuff, like do you guys when you put together a routine, like what kind of music you be going for in that
Well,
situation?
then it's like then you're talking about like competitive like cheerleading, so that's a
Yeah.
little bit
different than what you were doing.
Yeah, well, like so I did a little bit of competitive cheer like my freshman year, but I don't think we were really that good, so that we didn't really compete again. But
Man.
but I know that like Temple, they do competitive cheer. I think they just placed second, which is awesome. But it's just a little bit different. Like the stuff that I did was more it was like partner stunning, and that you include that in the competitive cheer, but when you like compete, it's like a whole other level, and then there's the UCA championship, and then there's the NCAA championships. So I met a bunch of people at Weber State, and they're like, was a 3-time national champion, like back to back to back, and it was really cool to witness like the amount of talent, like in Daytona, with like hundreds and like thousands of cheerleaders doing all these crazy things, like it's just but in terms of like competition, like I haven't done that in a very, very long time, but it's just like the amount of like pressure and stress, like it's insane.
No doubt.
Yeah, there's a new what was it, the documentary Cheer on Netflix, they talk about that, with Navarro College. So
That's super cool. So then you also have like a clothing line.
Oh yeah.
So can you kind of tell me how that became a part of your life, that you started doing that? Because it's athletic wear that you're designing.
Athletic wear, athleisure wear. So what happened was I was in tech for like 18, 19 years, and then when I discovered Acro, it was really tough to kind of do both. I was like working from like 10 a.m. to like 3 a.m., like kind of restaurant hours, because I was doing POS systems for restaurants. And then whenever I was taking classes or teaching, I had to find someone to cover for me. It was just really tough. So my heart wasn't in it. It was more leaning towards like Acro. And Acro was like a little piece of the pie at first. And it got bigger and bigger and bigger, to the point where I just wanted to do Acro all the time. So I was thinking about what can I do to sustain myself and to have that flexibility of, being able to do Acro, besides just teaching. And when I first started Acro, I had no idea what to wear. And apparently there are not a lot of options that are specifically for Acro. So I was just like, maybe I can explore that. So I started doing a little research, and then I just started the clothing line, and I wanted to, the concept, I started with Acro, but it's more than that. I created a line that basically addresses different issues people have through and create solutions through apparel. So the name of the company is Active Elixir, and the tagline is the perfect solution for people of movement. So I basically find out like what issues or know about issues that people have, and then create a solution for it through different clothing, or just kind of fashionable and also functional articles of clothing.
Can you give me like some examples?
Yeah, so like as a male base, when you lift people above your head, a lot of the times the shirts will rise up and expose your belly button, which isn't exactly the best for pictures. So I made shirts like 4 inches longer, so in the torso, so it covers the belly button. I made the sleeve shorter so it can show off the muscles. The fabric is a special fabric that's also moisture wicking. I had a local artist who gifted me her artwork, and based on the ideas I had, so she create this awesome pattern. It says handstands make me happy, but it's upside down. So when you're doing handstands, it's right side up. So, we did a collaboration with her. I made these hoodies, these crop top hoodies that have magnets in the hood. So when you're doing inversions, they don't go over your head.
Oh, that's
So
cool.
like stuff like that. So I have the Acro wear line. I'm developing pole wear for pole dancers, especially since my Acro partner is a pole instructor, and then learning about the culture, learning about like what issues that people have in the pole world. I also have friends that, and also like I'm also in part of the dance community, not as in depth as Acro, but enough that I can have an idea of what issues that they have. So maybe creating things for like bodysuits or formal wear that you can move your arms, lifting people above your
No
head.
doubt.
So it's basically I'm hitting up all the different niche markets. So I have
Yeah.
Acro, developing pole, doing social dance, bachata, salsa, zouk, belly dance. So all the different
So it's like kind of
things.
like crop top kind of stuff.
Oh, it all depends. Yeah. So
I'm curious with the pole dancing stuff, right? Because with pole dancing, you want specific parts of your body exposed for that friction.
So
right?
I don't usually wear women's clothing, but I am working on making clothing for women, which means I need to talk to women to understand. And people have been awesome. Like it's such a great resource when people tell me like what issues they have, and then I work with come up with a way to kind of solve those issues. With pole, I've learned that when people start out with pole, they might be a little conservative, so they have like more coverage, and then as they get better and better, there is a direct correlation with the skill level and the less amount of coverage and clothing that they wear, because the more skin contact they have, the more moves that they're able to do. So it's like very interesting. So I developed clothing that's for the kind of like the beginners, but also like the more advanced ones as well, and just playing around with different styles and different things. And I'm excited to see what the final project. But it is a process, developing the prototype, having people test it out, see what works, what doesn't work, making the changes, and then once you go through all that, which could take a while, then it's like, all right, then you greenlight it, and then the mass production.
Yeah, that's super cool. And where do you get them? Like, who's the manufacturer?
So I've tried many manufacturers, like kind of trial and error. So I have one in Philadelphia that I use. I have one in China, a couple ones in China that I'm like testing out for different types of clothing, and then I also am talking to another one in Taiwan. So I have different types of clothing, so there's different manufacturers that specialize in different ones. So kind of figuring out like what works and what doesn't work.
Yeah. What's your ethnicity?
Taiwanese.
Oh, nice.
Yeah.
Nice. Okay. That makes sense then. Why you opted for that one too. Cool, man. That's super cool. So what else are you into besides like all that stuff? That's super cool that you're chasing like I also left like the corporate world of like IT. I've set up POS system before, but I was doing more security oriented work and network oriented work. And I left that because movement is also my passion.
Yeah.
But yeah, what else do you do on like the side? What do you do for fun?
I mean, I enjoy photography.
Nice.
And it's really interesting because I'm usually behind the lens taking the pictures, but now with the Acro, I find myself in front of the lens a lot. And it's really interesting because I also realize that Acro is great content. It's with bodies and the different positions, like you can make like beautiful pictures, and it's just really tricky to be in front of the lens and behind the lens and like to capture that moment, that the right angle and everything. So most of the time I either give it to someone, I give them specific instructions on like what I'm looking for, and then have them take the picture, or I set up like a timer and just kind of hope I get it. But it's an adjustment to go from behind the lens to in front of the lens, and then trying to like do both.
No doubt.
Yeah.
I always notice like when you're in the gym, you have the camera on the tripod.
Yeah.
Do you have like a specific preset that you find like
So-
works for that situation?
So what's interesting is that when I first started my project, I would just kind of take pictures and that's it. But then a friend of mine suggested I do videos because to capture the moment. And if I decide to do like a YouTube channel, like to like videos, they're just great.
The
Yeah.
10,000 project.
Yeah. So it's funny because like I said, you'll see people who will go from like sheer terror to like, oh my gosh, what's going on, to like pure happiness and bliss. You're like, yo, this is cool, I got this. And then and to be able to capture and see that moment it's just something that's like kind of cool to witness. Yeah,
and you can capture it in like a permanent kind of media. That is super cool, man. So what kind of camera you have?
Well, I have that one. It's the Canon G7, G7X Mark II. But I also have like a digital SLR. But I think I'm looking into maybe a mirrorless camera. Like once, I think Canon's supposed to release a new one like next month. So I'm gonna look into that one.
Nice. That's cool. Yeah, I use like a Lumix, Panasonic Lumix, cool. And that's a mirrorless, and that thing's pretty sweet because the screen, like yours pops out the side, mine can like rotate and like do all sorts of fancy stuff. So that's a good time. That's super cool. So like, what kind of like leisure activities are you into?
Man,
that don't require like athletics involved?
I feel like all I do is acro now, or I plan. It's like it's hard to remember what I did before acro nowadays. Like it really is. It's I plan different events, like come up with different things. Try to be creative. I did what did I do? I mean, like maybe kind of like dance a little bit. Photography. I used to host parties, like throw parties at like different clubs and bars a lot. But it's weird when I think about like what was life before acro. It's because it's very like all consuming, because I train or teach basically like 6, sometimes 7 days a week now. Yeah.
And you really enjoy the practice to the point where like you found yourself once you became the person that you are.
Yeah.
Like,
someone told me that acro was my ikigai, and then I was like, what's an ikigai? And it's like it's a Japanese term for like your reason for living.
Wow.
Like, and it was just
That's
like it
powerful.
was really like a deep, meaningful type of way to kind of understand like what I discovered. And what was it? There's like 4 elements. Like it's finding something that you're good at, something that is that you can get paid for, something that makes the world better, and something that is, was it good? I forget the 4th one, but like but it was like one of those things where like, wow, like I found acro, and acro is my ikigai, and that's
You've been like swearing by it ever since.
Yeah, it's just like this is really, really cool. Yeah,
that's super powerful. Have you ever gotten an injury through like cheer or acro?
I feel like, I mean, I messed up my knee from rugby, and just sometimes you get like an elbow or a headbutt, like you just it's part of it's just part of the process. And I mean, sometimes you tweak something or things just hurt, and I'm just kind of used to the pain.
I think there's very few sports that aren't like that though.
Yeah. So I mean, like my back, sometimes my wrist, my neck, it's all kind of jacked up, but I'm just used to it by now.
Yeah, no doubt.
So it was funny because when I discovered acro, the first day everyone started giving each other massages. I was like, what's going on here? And they're like, oh yeah, this is part of acro. Like you show like appreciation, like you just kind of give each other massages, like the Thai massage part. And I'm like,
that's cool.
What? Like we didn't have that in cheer.
Hook it up.
Yeah. So now like whenever I can, it's sometimes it's tough finding the time, but I try to incorporate it in my like practices and whatnot, to like do a little Thai massage, some like therapeutics and everything.
That's super cool.
And then like so I'm actually going to include a little bit of that for the Valentine's workshop that I'm doing, a little Thai massage. And,
that's the move, man.
And also flying therapeutics. Flying therapeutics is basically you're getting like stretched and massaged like while you're like in the air and stuff. Yeah, that's really, really cool.
So like maybe like trying to like separate like the hips from like
the like you kind of push and pull and like it's really cool. A lot of people don't know about it, but once they experience it, they're like, this is the most amazing thing ever.
Yeah.
So it's funny because I it's about that touch that people like kind of yearn for, but it's also kind of like the healing factor and the making that connection. Just a really cool kind of aspect that acro has. It's also an amazing. There's, besides the physical practice and then the connection, there's like more to it. You meet some amazing people from like all around the world. I can go to any city and just like search for like Acro-Yoga and whatever, and then I'll find random people and then just do acro with them.
The blood runs deep too. Like they're all like, oh, like welcome. It's so cool. Like I think that's another one of those things with like the intimate practices, like athletic practices.
Yeah.
Everyone's like, "Oh yeah, a new brother, come join the club."
Yeah, because it's like even like with cheer, like when you meet someone that also does cheer, like like what you went through. Like with rugby, the same thing. Like what you went through.
No doubt.
Yeah, and with acro, it's really cool because you meet just amazing human beings, and people are positive. They want to help each other out. It just is an awesome community. Yeah. It's a very global community because there's people from all over the world, and and it's cool. Like you just find someone, and all of a sudden you're doing acro with them.
Yeah.
But I guess even for my project, I'm finding people who've never done acro and like on their first flight, and like giving them like this kind of like this experience is also very rewarding. Yeah.
So like ride the Rob is like a pun unto itself,
Yeah.
and then you're popping their acro cherry.
Yeah. That's like actually we call it acro cherries. Yeah. And it's funny because I'll have people like, oh my gosh, like like I want to ride the Rob. Someone's like, oh yeah, my mom wants to ride the Rob. I had one guy who I lifted a few years ago, and he's like, oh man, like you didn't do my wife. Like here, come here, honey. Like you need to ride the Rob. And I was like, hey.
It's so funny, dude.
I needed something catchy, so it was either Rob's Acro Challenge like 2017, or I just decided to go with Ride the Rob. Yeah.
It's a good hashtag.
Yeah,
That's one I could get behind.
I remember that moment when I was in the park and there was like a line of flyers that wanted to like to do acro with me, and then there's like one after the other, and then someone's like, oh yeah, who wants to jump on for the next ride? And I was like, oh, like Ride the Rob, and then and I was like, hey, I should make a T-shirt of that one day. And then I remember that day, and then remember that little basically turned that phrase into a hashtag. And yeah.
Do you have any stickers or something?
I'm actually working on making like stickers.
You gotta get me one. I'll throw it up here. I got you. You gotta put your handle so they can reach out to you.
Yeah,
that's super funny.
Yeah, so it's like anyone that wants to be part of the project, like they can reach out to me. Instagram is like, oh, should I do this one?
Oh yeah. There you go.
Right there.
That's the move.
The Mojo Show.
That's tell me about your handle. Like, what's that? The Mojo Show? Is that like Mojo Jojo from the
So what happened? Lots of stories. So I was in Key West. I was in Key West with a few friends, and they had like the DJ going, so people were dancing, and all of a sudden they shifted to like a live band, and then they started playing either Marvin Gaye or Al Green, and then everyone just cleared the dance floor. So then I got bored, so I grabbed my friend, and then I put a chair in the middle of the dance floor, and I started giving her like a lap dance, and then I don't know what happened. I started taking like my shirt off, and the
just Rob stuff.
Yes, Rob stuff. And the lead singer was like, oh, whatever mojo he has, like I need to bottle up and sell it. And after like she made that comment, like all the women like started gravitating, they wanted to dance with me. But when I say all the women, we're talking like they're like in their 70s and 80s, and they're like, oh, can I dance with you? And I was like, yeah, man. Sure. So I was dancing with all of them. It was like, it was in Key West. It was like, I don't know, it was like probably like in the middle of the day, like 3 or 4 p.m. So I was dancing with all these women, in their 70s and 80s, and they're like, oh, thank you so much, you were great. And when I have like random stories, and a lot of people are like, you should start a blog. So I thought about that moment, and I like to have things that are like kind of catchy or rhyme.
Yeah.
So I was thinking, oh, like the Mojo, and then it developed to like the Mojo Show, and then it was it was a domain that was available, so I bought it, and I started a little blog called the Mojo Show.
Nice.
And when Instagram came about, I was like, oh, I don't know what I should like I don't know, so I was just like, all right, let me just use the blog handle, and it just kind of stuck. Yeah,
that's cool, man. I dig that. And then like the active elixir thing again, that's just like something you came up with because it just hit you in the moment.
Yeah, I wanted something like the word active in it, and then I wanted something that wasn't I had a designer friend who's like, you don't want to limit yourself to just like apparel or wear, like you are selling a lifestyle, a brand. So so don't call it whatever apparel or whatever wear. So then I was like, oh, how about elixir? And then it's like the play on words on like a solution, and then the perfect solution for things.
That makes sense.
And even the logo that I have, it's it's an acro pose. I don't know if you're able to well, if you do acro, you're able to see it. I can show it to you real fast. So it's like, so this is the, I don't know, should I,
you can
see it. Yeah,
so we can see it down there
down
too.
Here? Okay. So this is the logo, right? But then it's based off this photo that of me doing an acro pose in San Diego. Yeah.
Dude, that is a dope picture. Did you take that picture yourself?
So I had this vision, and then I was like, I gave the camera to a friend of mine who's also a photographer, and I explained what exactly I wanted, and then she captured that like the photo perfectly. And then that's actually the photo that a lot of people use when they like for the articles and stuff they wrote about me. But I think it's just like an awesome like photo, the way that I envisioned it, that I wanted it, and she was able to capture that. Yeah.
Yeah, that is like, that's perfect. That was a perfect picture.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I really see it in there.
Yeah, now you can see it now, right?
Yeah,
so
it's perfect.
So
Yeah,
the
that's
acro
amazing.
people who I mean the people who do acro, they can see the acro pose in it, and I have like in a teardrop because of like the solution, the elixir.
Yeah,
So
makes sense.
yeah,
That's super cool, man.
yeah.
I
All
was
these
gonna
little
ask you too. That's yeah.
all the little
It's,
secrets.
it's
Yeah,
all
yeah.
it's all really well thought out.
Yeah, I try.
Try. That's
Yeah.
awesome, man.
But people who saw it, they're like, "Oh, that's a cool logo," and then once I tell them the story behind it, like, "Wow, that's just now super cool."
That is sweet. So, do you do anything competitive with Acro right now?
There's not really so much like like
Like you were talking about, like the diamond thing.
oh yeah, I mean I'll incorporate acro for like
Mhm.
competitions and stuff like that. There's no really like competitive acro. There's more like performances. There's unless you do really like sports acro, but I am considering because um to since I'm kind of learning and getting more involved with the pole world to
Mhm.
possibly use acro in a pole competition. If my main acro partner, she is competing, I could be a human prop and incorporate acro. I've done that a few years ago, where basically the competitor would, it was a pole competition that's coming up in the summer. I was like a human prop and I incorporated acro, and then and then they did their pole routine and everything. So I'm considering maybe I'll compete this year as a human prop, with acro being part of the routine. And then I kind of realized like you can incorporate acro into a lot of things, especially a lot of performances. So a
Mhm.
lot of people ask me if I wanted to like perform and stuff like that. And well, now I have a partner, I can develop and create content. And it's interesting because she has a pole background, and I actually want to create a workshop that involves acro and pole and chair. So not too many people have combined all three elements. So it's something that we're also kind of developing. Yeah.
That is pretty cool and unique. That
Yeah.
because you'd need the two different skills to like want to even try to
Yeah.
blend that.
That's why I was talking to Andy about putting poles in the
Yeah,
gym so we
I think
can
that
kind
would
of
be
do
cool.
that.
Like
Yeah.
maybe like on the edge of the wood floor or
Yep.
something.
Yep.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that would
So
be perfect.
they were talking about like putting it there and then just
I wonder how you would like mount it like to the ceiling, because that would be a
that's
big spinning pole,
that's
man.
that's what I was talking to him about, like having maybe it come down from the ceiling or something.
Mm.
But that'd be a whole other like element for PPK. That'd be really cool.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I think so. I'd be interested in messing around with that. There's a
Yeah.
lot of cool people on Instagram. Like it's insane how powerful you need to be a pole
Oh
dancer.
yeah, it's like and then it's a great. So in acro, whenever I find like cheerleaders or gymnasts or pole dancers, they based on their disciplines, their movements, they can pick up acro so quickly because there's a lot of crossover. You know what I mean? With pole dancers, pole fitness people, there's the upper body strength, the flexibility, the body awareness. The big difference is it, instead of being a solo sport, it's like a partner based sport. um but yeah, they're able, like pole dancers are able to pick up so many things so quickly. It's amazing. It's really cool as like a former gymnast or a former cheerleader. All of a sudden,
Mm.
like you're doing acro and you can utilize, like that's how I felt. Like
Yeah.
I haven't done like cheer in a while. All of a sudden I found acro and I found out that all the stuff that I did all those years, I can like I can apply that and use that, and it counts as acro.
Yeah.
And all the things I've developed and like really practiced and trained, I get to use again and then improve and get better. It's just really cool to be able to do that. Yeah.
Yeah, no doubt. That is super cool, man. So like how many like how thriving is the community of Acro in like Philly? Is this where you're from too?
Yeah,
Philly?
yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
So,
So you've been building up your team like
yeah,
for
yeah. I've been
ages.
there's people who've done acro for a while. There's people who've done it and like kind of like moved away or
Mhm.
live out in the suburbs. But there's like people come in like waves. There's
Yeah.
people that've been here for a while. There's people that move away. I'm just trying to like get more people to do acro because it's just such an amazing activity / sport, and the community is incredible. You just, like I said, you meet amazing people, and just having it grow and to see people level up, especially when they are regulars. It's just an awesome thing to be like surrounded by and involved in. Yeah. So the Philly is like considered a major city, but I feel like it's kind of big enough where like there's a patch of Acro people in one area, like West Philly, and then another one like in like Center City, so stuff like that, and then a couple of people out in the suburbs. And but I try to like just kind of open up to everything, all for like intro stuff for people who've never tried Acro that want to try Acro, and then I like to teach the more like intermediate advanced stuff as well, because like that's what I enjoy, and that's one of my like strengths. And so when I offer that, a lot of people who want to kind of level up or to like break that plateau, like they'll come and learn. And Sarah Moser, she's also teaching here a lot as well, and we kind of sat together and like kind of created like Philly Acro, and just having it thrive and build. It's just awesome to kind of see, because we started in November, and then we you've seen the people come to the classes, and
no doubt. What advice can you give for like people that are trying to build a community around like an athletic practice that maybe isn't that prominent in their area?
I mean, if you wanna like recruit and everything, like you can find. I guess you got kind of be creative. You have to find reason for people to come and then stay, like you know what I mean, because that's the retention could be the toughest part, especially you want to build. I know that it's kind of one-sided, but also kind of true, is that if you have like solid bases, at least for Acro, then then people like other bases will come, they can learn from them, and then there's more flyers that can come. But it's kind of tough if you're a flyer and there's no bases, then you're kind of like, what should I do, So in terms of Acro, like having like strong solid bases help out. My friend has a joke though. What is it? To be a really good base, you have to be easy to work with, strong, and not creepy, and you get basically 2 of the 3 sometimes. So once you have all 3, you're like a unicorn, and then everyone like kind of flocks to you, and it's like it's kind of funny but kind of true. But I think having, at least for Acro, like a warm, like kind of welcoming kind of attitude, and if you're surrounded by like cool people, you know what I mean, like you just want to go and hang out and do things with them all the time. So I feel like having a core group of like awesome people who are passionate about whatever movement background, I think that helps out a lot, because you just want to do things with like fun and cool people all the time. No doubt.
That's super cool, man. So that's pretty good. I'm like running out of like specific questions here. I kind of want to just get to know you, like what else, what do you where have you traveled, and like I want to know like what made you so charismatic, because you're such a personable dude.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. like the first time I met you, I'm like, oh, this guy's all right. Like immediately I'm like, Rob, I like Rob.
Oh,
sure.
Cool, thanks. Recently I just got back from LA and San Diego.
What were you doing there?
I was there for an Acro festival.
Oh yeah, that fest.
Yeah. I was also in Arlington. I taught at Interfusion, which is like an Acro / dance / tantra / mindfulness / sexuality / a little bit of everything festival. Yeah, there's all the different things. I was in like Chicago, Taiwan. I just kind of
last year.
Last year, 2 years maybe in Chicago, last year in Taiwan. I just kind of go wherever. There's a lot of Acro festivals over the world, over the U.S. So I'll travel for that, to do Acro, but also like as a vendor for the clothing line. Like nice. St. Pete, Miami. My buddy, he started chartering yachts in Miami, I found out. So I put some of my clothing down there, and we would do photo shoots, and if people want to charter yachts, like I can also hook that up too. We were just doing Acro on a couple of the yachts out there.
That's cool. Like on a cruise line?
No, not just like a there's like 100-foot yacht, 75-foot yacht, 50-foot yacht, just boats.
You're just boating it up.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah. So it's just, I feel like it's like an adventure. Like I have that freedom to kind of travel, and it's cool because when I travel, I have different, I'll go for like a purpose, but then also kind of lift people, or talk to different people about my clothing line. So I kind of find different things like what to do while I'm out there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's super cool. Like just being as like as personable as you are, it's probably super easy for you to just network with people.
Yeah.
Especially cuz you can just convince, "Hey, can I just pick you up and risk dumping you on your head really quick?"
So it's really interesting because I had a couple people that come up to me and they're like, it takes a certain type of like personality or person to be able to do that. I was like, what do you mean? Because I see things from my own perspective,
Yeah, of course.
and then they're like, yeah, like, I mean, think about it. You have like this random stranger that goes up to you. He's like, oh, let me lift you up. And it's like, don't you think that could be a little weird? I was like, I never really thought about it that way. I just like, I see people. I'm like, hey, let me like show you this thing, or let me, this, and then all of a sudden they're up there. I had like one person. Like I went up to like this random person. I was like, oh yeah, I'm doing this thing for my project. I lifted them up. It was fine. And then someone else like, oh, let me like, put you up in something. They're like, no, I'm okay. And I was like, why did she say yes to me but not yes to him? So I don't know, just like very, it's yeah. I guess someone said that I've like good energy, good vibe, I guess, and that's if so, then that's kind of cool. Like
the vibes.
Yeah.
That's cool.
Yeah.
Where did Acro come from? Like Acro-Yoga? Where did I doubt it came from India.
Well, I mean, when you talk about Acro-Yoga, you're talking about elements that have been around for like centuries, like acrobatic stuff like that.
True.
But I guess like Jason Niemer, he kind of formalized it like in the in the 1980s. He kind of like put the elements together, and then he kind of like I think like trademarked it and stuff like that. So it hasn't been around too much, but there are elements of it, like the massage, the yoga, the acro that's been around for like a long time.
Yeah, of course. Cool. And that's an American guy, Jason.
Yeah. I met him and lifted him when he was in Miami. I'm not sure where he is. Maybe he might be in California now.
Nice.
Yeah, I've met a lot of like cool and interesting people like along the way, and yeah, they had what was it? I have 2 more TV stations to be on. I'm trying to get all the local TV stations in Philly. So like people like found out about me. They asked me to come on. I lifted them like on live TV and stuff like that.
Cool.
Yeah. So I think I have 2 more left to get. So
that's
yeah.
cool. Well, you've been on like live television lifting up like news anchors.
Yeah.
And they just let you do it.
Yeah. I was like, do you want to practice? Like, no, it'd be cooler if we just like we have no idea what we're doing and you just do it like live. I was like, okay. So yeah, the first one I did was A Good Day Philadelphia for Fox.
Yeah.
And then last year I did it for CBS 10. And then there was I did a thing with 6 ABC, and so I think WPHL 17 and NBC 10 are on the list. Yeah, I was a couple of them asked me, but I was away. But I need to reconnect and keep them the bridges. Yeah.
And keep the maintenance on them bridges.
When I started the project, someone's like, "Oh yeah, you should try to be on Ellen." I was like, "Oh, that's silly." and then a bunch of people were like, "Oh, you should try to be on Ellen." And I was like, "Wait, why are people saying this?" And then when I lifted up the TV anchors, like, "Oh, you should think about taking this project like national, like get national with like TV coverage, like what like Ellen." They're like, "Yeah," like. And I was like, "Wait." Well, maybe this could be a thing. Maybe she would, want me to lift her up or something. But it was funny because, as like when someone suggested at first, I thought it's like that's kind of silly. But then when more and more people are suggesting, I was like, oh, maybe it's not as silly. Maybe like it could be a possibility. So yeah, we'll see.
Cool. Did you reach out? Or how do you get in touch with Ellen?
I don't know. Well, most of the time, all the media stuff has been more. Me being on the passive end, like they would find me somehow. But I'm like, you know what? Maybe I should be more on the assertive end, actually reach out to people.
Yeah.
So you know what? That's what I'm going to do. Like this year, just start reaching out to people and see who want me to like to be on the show or lift them or this and that. Yeah.
You should like pick like a specific number for Ellen. Like Ellen, I want you to be my 8,000th person or something.
So it's tough doing that because. I've done that. People like request like special numbers, and then
it's like, bro, you better hit me up on midnight.
Because it's tough. Because sometimes like I remember like I lifted like an entire cheer team, like it was like 24 cheerleaders, and then someone wanted a specific number, and then I was like. I was doing the math. I was like, oh no, like I have to lift about like 18 people or else or also would go over and this and that. So that entire day I went around like to like a whole bunch of like gyms and studios to lift people, so then that person could get like a specific number.
I would have made him come with me.
Yeah.
Like if you're gonna request that number, you got to stay with me and be it. Like,
But
you're gonna ruin my schedule here.
yeah.
I'll do it, but you got to do it.
But sometimes it works out. Like someone wanted number 5,555. I was like, all right, listen, like I make no promises, but if I get close and you happen to be around, we'll make it happen. And then actually, like I was like one off, and then I was like, actually, if you come meet me like today, like you can be number 5,555, but it has to be kind of cool. So she she's German, and then she had the it was a Dirdel, and then I had the lederhosen and everything with the mug. So
cool.
we had a cool picture, yeah. Yeah, we had some interesting pictures, like I guess like these like milestone whatever like numbers. I remember I was in a hotel, and the next number up was 1,111, and then I was like, well, I guess we should do something cool for that. And I just met this girl, 2 minutes ago, and one of the guys is like, oh yeah, you should just get naked and do that. And she's like, yeah, let's do it. I was like, okay.
Yeah.
So then like we went
Nice.
off like, and then like it was a really beautiful shot. And I turned into a black and white photo, but she was like like naked, and she was number 1,111. It was a beautiful picture, and I had it like in my mind. I wanted framed a certain way, and then so the person who took the picture was able to capture that, which is awesome.
Yeah.
But yeah, there's.
Was it as good as the other one that you have there for your
I mean,
active elixir symbol?
I mean, they're all. I have some like really cool pictures and
No doubt.
different stories. In Utah, at an Acro festival, this guy who balances chairs on his face, and has a world record for that. I lifted him like in the chair pose, like while he is balancing a chair on his chin.
What?
I met a cheer mom, and I lifted her with her 4 daughters on top of her.
How? How were they?
So she was like in a plank position, and I stacked 2 of the daughters on top, and then the other 2 on top of their shoulders.
Oh.
Yeah. And then the dad comes, and I was like, I got to do the entire family now. So I lifted all 6 of them, like stacked
At
up.
the same time?
Yeah, at the same
no
time.
way. That's
Yeah.
crazy.
So.
How many pounds is that?
Well.
A few.
Yeah, a good amount. I can leg press like half a ton. So.
Yeah.
So I'm like, all right, if like a smart car like falls on you or whatever, like half a car, like I got you. So.
Yeah, half a car.
Yeah, so that's why like when people like when they're like, oh, I'm too heavy, I was like, no, you're not. Like I got you.
You don't even understand what heavy is.
Yeah, but it's really cool. Like there was a lot of like people that like aren't like men and like women who aren't used to being picked up. Like I put them in the air, and they're like, yeah, that was really cool. Like one woman, she was like, oh, I'm too big to get picked up. I was like, I got you. And I put her up, and then she was like, after I put up, she was like in tears crying. She's like, I'm so happy. Like, my boyfriend doesn't even pick me up. Like, this is the first time like anyone's picked me up in I don't know how long. And she was just so like, to be able to like give that like joy and happiness to someone. That's kind of awesome. Yeah.
That's super cool. All right.
Yeah.
So, you traveled to Taiwan to do Acro too?
I was there to take care of some family stuff, and then I was going around lifting people for my project, and I went to a studio that apparently offered Acro like a long time ago, but they do more like the hammock yoga and everything, and they're like, can you teach a class? I was like,
oh dude,
I was like, I'm here for like 2 more days, so if you want to schedule something in 2 days before I leave, like I can teach a class. He's like, yeah. So like on a random like it was like a Tuesday afternoon, like almost like 20-30 people show up.
Whoa.
Right. and I was like, you know what, like I'm gonna teach this in Mandarin, in Chinese, and like I know how to speak Mandarin, I know how to speak German, but
what?
Yeah,
dude, you're like James Bond over here. This man is
so
legendary.
My German is actually better than my Mandarin / Chinese, because I can like read and write it. Mandarin I can really just speak it.
Yeah.
But
wait, where did you get the language skills that you have?
Oh, when I was
young. They speak Mandarin in Taiwan?
Yeah, Mandarin,
oh, okay,
Mandarin, Chinese, and then also Taiwanese. Yeah, when I was a kid, I just wanted to like learn a bunch of languages, and people told me like German was like one of the tougher ones. So I was like, well, let me start with that first. So I learned German, took a little bit of French, took a little Spanish, but it was mostly German that I stuck with. I worked for the government in Berlin for a little bit too.
What, as a translator?
No, I worked with the in the press office and everything. Yeah, I have a couple of stories from there. Yeah.
Well, let's hear them, dude. I want to hear it. That's so interesting. That's so random.
So
now we're getting to the good stuff.
One time they were asking me if I had any cool stories, and I was like, well, there's that time where I chased down a bunch of thieves, and they're like, wait, what happened? And then my friend was visiting me, and at that time, like I was working out like hardcore, like I was
Yeah.
like super thin. I was like, it's pretty ripped because I just spent most of the time either working, studying, or just spending hours at the gym. And they came to visit me, and we're supposed to go to the club or whatever. And like these two guys like stole this woman's purse in the subway. And my buddy turns around, and is like, "Oh, do you feel like do you feel like being heroes tonight?" I was just like, "Yeah, why not?" So I started chasing after them, right? So, and then like up the stairs, like through the streets and everything, and then like they're within like arms reach, and I was like, then all of a sudden, like the logic like kicks in, like what am I doing? I'm running after these thieves. I have no idea like if they have like a knife or whatever on them. I was like, I don't know what to do. Like I'm about to catch him, and then he throws the purse at me, and so I catch the purse, and then like he gets away. And then the police come, and it's a good thing I spoke German because I was like,
Yeah.
"Hey, like it's not me. Like I just got this lady's purse," and she was like so thankful. And I returned the purse for her, and then they had me like go in the police car, and we're just like driving around the streets looking for the
Those
thieves.
guys, yeah.
And I was like, in my mind, I was like, "Wait, what was I doing? I don't know, like what happened."
Yeah.
But then when they were looking for like a cool story, I told them about the story. So then they wrote the story in the German newspaper about me like doing all that stuff.
That's crazy.
But yeah, it was an interesting experience. I was there working for the government, and also like taking German classes, like the study abroad program. But I didn't realize until I got there that it was all in German, because most study abroad programs it's English in a different country.
Yeah.
Well, this time it was German in Germany, so they gave us like stacks and stacks of books like all in German. We had like oral presentations. We had a lot of homework. It was very challenging, but my
No
German got
doubt.
real good. Yeah.
It's like
Yeah.
work well under pressure
Yep.
over here.
But then like I knew how to explain German politics in German better than I did in English. Oh yeah, and then so
Wow.
the same thing. So when I was in Taiwan teaching acro, like I know how to speak Mandarin, but I don't know the terms that you use to describe like certain cues in Mandarin.
Yeah.
So I had to be creative. Like so instead of saying like hollow body, I would say like round your shoulder. You know what I mean? Like I would say certain things that I could use. But it was very interesting teaching acro in a different language. But then I guess now I can say that I'm an international acro instructor because I've done it in a different country. And they're like, yeah, like come, and they let us know, like whenever you're back around here, we'd love to have you. And it's like it's kind of cool to be able to do that.
That is
Yeah.
super cool. That's so crazy, dude. You're like fucking Asian James Bond on my bus right now. Yeah.
Yeah.
That's super cool. What was your first impression when you walked in my bus?
No, I thought this is super cool. It's like you have this whole setup thing like in a bus. That's awesome, man.
No doubt. Yeah, man. It's just it's so crazy. Like that. So you went to college for like technical stuff?
No, I went to my major at Drexel was international studies, concentrations in German and Chinese, minors in
Oh.
business and history.
So how'd you end up doing the POS thing?
It's well, I'm really into food.
Same.
Food and tech, and then yeah, it was a great combination of the two, and I get to use my language skills because a lot of the restaurants were Chinese or Asian restaurants, so I get to speak Mandarin like a lot, like most of the time. Which is really interesting because sometimes I'll call up looking for a manager in English and they're like, "Oh, the person's not here." And I speak in Mandarin, like, "Oh, wait, let me go get him." So it's like very interesting, yeah.
That's funny.
Yeah. But yeah, it's just you just never know where life will take you, man. And it's one from one thing to the next, and it's really cool when you find something that you're really passionate about, though.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think like I just kind of got to that point in my life like recently because I was working that IT job and I was just like I just started seeing like the people around me just on that same day to day, and then I started feeling like myself becoming that, and I'm like, "Oh no. Like this is how it happens." You get trapped in that
Yeah.
cuz it's comfortable.
Yeah,
You know
it
what I
is.
mean?
It is. It's
That
like,
coffee every day, that
yeah,
chair,
the routine, yeah. But sometimes, like, like taking a plunge, just kind of go for it. And I didn't know anything about women's clothing, but I spent a year basically researching and learning and understanding it. And it's kind of cool. I get to be creative. I have all these ideas, like for the leggings I have, I made I had wings on them, so when you're upside down, it looks like you're flying in the air.
What?
Yeah, and I also made them reversible because I know that sometimes if you wear things with like very recognizable prints, let's be real, like people don't wash their pants like all the time. You know what I mean? So you can flip it inside out. So the other side is a solid color, so you can wear that if you want to be more like kind of discreet. And then you have like the wing leggings on the other side. And then what was it? People were telling me they love pockets. So I have like a secret pocket
The
there.
wing leggings.
Yeah, man.
Do you have a picture?
Actually,
I want to see this.
I usually carry things with me all the
Yeah,
time.
let's go. Oh, we got some exhibits. We got some exhibits, y'all. Let's go.
And it was actually really interesting. I think I might have the green one with me. I had a blue one, and then someone's like, "Oh, these remind me of like eagle's wings." So I was like, "Well, why don't I just make the color green? So then they're kind of like eagle's leggings, you know?"
Yeah.
So they sold like really well. And I also have the crop top hoodie. Hold on, I got all the things here. Here's the hoodie.
Okay,
the
cool.
Magnet.
Yeah.
The other one.
Can I put it on?
I mean, it might be a little small for you, but.
Oh yeah, I see. It is pretty small. Let me look for the magnet. So I see the magnet here.
So it's in the hood.
And then where's it go on the? Oh, on the back. It's right there. Bam.
So what happens is when you're doing inversions, like it doesn't go over your head, but if you're doing acro and a foot gets caught in it, like it'll open up.
Cool. So that's kind of what's going on there. And then we
are-
go upside down. And, oh, the
Yeah.
hood came off though. What happened?
You gotta put it on both sides here.
Oh, there's two of
Two of
them.
them, yeah.
I'm slacking over here.
Like
Ah.
that.
Ah.
So
Yeah,
these
that's
are
so dope.
these are the leggings, and then they're reversible, so it's solid on the other side.
Mm-hmm.
Little secret pocket here, and apparently because of the pattern, it just makes your ass look amazing.
Yo, no doubt.
Yeah, and they're also like super like stretchy, So
Yeah.
yeah,
Me feel?
super soft too.
Yeah.
Like I had these on when I first got them, and I was like rubbing my legs, and then someone came in to pick up a shirt, and they're like, "What are you doing?" I was like, "Dude, you just gotta feel these." So he puts them on. He's like, "Yo, these are really soft." So
Yeah,
he bought them.
It's interesting that this fabric. I was expecting like it to feel like a rash guard, like you know what I mean.
yeah. This
is different.
It's very similar to Lululemon's like Align pants and stuff. Yeah, super soft.
Yeah, man. This is nice.
Yeah. Nice. So where can people find this stuff, man? Like, what if I wanted some sweet butt legging with the wings on my ass? Yeah, www.active-elixir.com. You see the insignia. Yeah. Oh, where is it? Oh, it's right there. That's so dope. Yeah, that's so cool. See if the design like printed on there. Mm-hmm. That's so dope. Yeah, so like I'm open to like basically creating and if people have ideas or they have like issues that they have through apparel, I can come up with a way to address that. Yeah, and it's kind of cool because now people have a direct channel to like what they want. Because instead of having like a big manufacturer make things like, hey, like hope you enjoy this. It's like you let me know what you want and let me create it. Let me figure out something that combines fashion with function and to use it so that it makes your life a little bit better when you're doing like whatever movement you have. I have like an asymmetrical bra that I had. It was really interesting. Oh man, I had to like, thank you. I had to change like 4 or 5 times with the angle because what happened was the asymmetrical bra, you have one side that's open, right? So there was like the angle that they had originally, like there was like over boobage that would kind of spill out a little bit. And I'm like, which was probably a cool thing to see. Like the first couple of times the wardrobe malfunction happened, you're like, drat. So you don't want, because like you don't want to have, wardrobe malfunction, especially if you're advertising it for acrobatics and stuff. No doubt, yeah. So then I was just like, so I had to change it multiple times, and I told the manufacturer like the girls need to stay in, like if they pop out and everything, then no one's going to buy it. So then they sent me videos of them like jumping up and down, and they're like, our boobs stayed in. And I was like, okay, good. Now we can now we can start production. We would also do like different acro poses, really like just kind of like bounce people around to. It's kind of amusing how we test it out. But I'd like to see videos. And then we had like it's like one girl was like, oh, I'm a double D, like there's no way like these will stay. And I was like, here, try these on. And then like my friend had them like bounce up and down, like upside down, and like really really hard. And she was giggling the entire time, but I was just like, well, they stayed in. She's like, yeah, they did stay in. So that's how we test them out. Yeah, it was really interesting because I've learned different ways of how women test clothes out to make sure that they're functional. So, they would like bend over, bounce around to make sure they don't slip out this way. They would like do like the arm swim. There's all these different things like I'm learning as we go along. Yeah.
Like as a guy, you don't realize like we take these t-shirts for granted.
Yeah.
And everything.
Yeah. When I go out, I'm like, I'll look at what women wear. It's like, oh, I like that. Like, where'd you get that? Or like, it's like,
let me study that design a little bit.
Yeah, it's just kind of cool because now I pay attention to women's clothing like a lot now.
Yeah, you don't even care about the girls.
Yeah.
So let me look at that cross stitching. That's outstanding. It's immaculate.
Yeah, the craftsmanship on that is great. Yeah,
that's awesome, man. Yeah, so cool. So we can get a hold of you at activeelixir.com.
Oh, active-elixir.com.
Active-elixir.com.
Yeah, for the clothing line.
Clothing.
Or on Instagram is at active-elixir. Yeah. Apparently, not everyone knows how to spell elixir, so it's like ELIXIR. Yeah.
And we definitely have it down.
There. Okay.
It's
I
can't reach.
There. Here.
There you go.
Yeah, but the main Instagram handle is the Mojo Show. That's how you can reach out.
That's where you can find Rob.
Yeah.
All right, man. Well, it's like midnight. Thank you so much
Thank
for
you,
hanging
man.
out, dude.
Yeah.
I hope you enjoyed your time on
I did, very
Bard's
much
Bus.
so.
That was awesome, man.
Cool.
All right. And you guys make sure you follow this man because he's got like 4,000 more people he needs to fly. I want people from my fan group to go up and be like, yo, Rob, let me tell you, I heard about this. This guy on his bus telling me that you need some flyers. That's what I want to hear.
Yeah, come find me.
Get him. Peace.